This is how much money I've made over time since I started business. And in this video, I'm gonna give you all the lessons that got me to where I am today. So my journey started in 2017 when I was 16 years old, and it started with the Tai Lopez video. If you're familiar with Tai Lopez and the Here in My Garage video, this is literally the turning point for me that kind of started to shift my mindset and think about business, entrepreneurship, and living a good life. Now, in 2017, the business model that was very hot, new, and attractive was dropshipping. This is because you didn't need money to get started, the barrier to entry was very low, and you didn't really need a lot of skills or expertise to start making money. And so in 2017, I opened different stores. I had zero money to my name. I had to go in marketing ways which didn't require money. So for instance, Facebook ads was out of the question. So my strategy was organic Instagram revenue, meaning I would actually create theme pages, which would be about gadgets or camping or guitar. So the strategy was very simple. I looked at other pages that were very successful, what their most viral videos were, downloaded those videos and posted it on my page with obviously the credits to the artist. And doing this, so 3 videos a day, I grew through 3 Instagram pages to I think over 100,000 followers. And you know, every other video I would make a promotion about one of my products. And that is what allowed me to generate some revenue with dropshipping. So if you look at the graph, you know, this is from 2017 to about 2018. And as you can see, the revenue is nothing crazy by any means, nor is the profit margins. So it's very up and down. There are months where I make a good amount of money, and so it's very nice, especially in comparison to you know, my expenses and so on. This is all profit at this point, and my age also. But there are also some months where I make zero, and also some months where I lose money. And so it's very inconsistent, but it's something. Now, keep in mind that I was still in high school, so my schedule and the way that I organized myself was that I woke up every morning at 5:30 and school started at 8. And so between 5:30 to 8, I would actually make my Instagram post, I would answer comments, I would you know, do some product research, customer service, and things of that nature. So I would work from 5:30 to 8 on my business, then go to school, and after school I had homework, but my focus was mostly on business. So that was good. It was certainly not a big amount of money, but it got me started, and I thought I was a legitimate business owner, right? But the problem is that it's inconsistent, and at the end of the day, it's not enough money to sustain myself. I wasn't financially free. However, I will say that at the age of 17, I had saved up enough money to pay myself a trip to Thailand, because I used to live in Thailand, and so I went to see some of my friends for Christmas and New Year's. And that was the first trip that I afforded myself, financed all of it, and it was the first time I was really independent from my parents. So to me, that sticks in my mind as one of the milestones in my business journey. And so that was in December of 2018, or onwards of early 2019, I started to realize that I needed to make more consistent revenue because what I was doing was not sustainable, because the market was also starting to become more saturated. And so in early 2019, I started looking into Facebook ads. Now, Facebook ads requires money and skills. And at this point, you know, I'm still in high school. I haven't taken any marketing class, or, you know, my business knowledge is very limited. It's only based upon YouTube videos. So I start running ads, and this is my problem with dropshipping, and this is also the reason that I stopped, and lesson number 1 is kind of coming. So I started to run Facebook ads, and on the front end, everything was looking fine. I spent, you know, maybe $100 a day or maybe less, and I was on the Facebook Ads Manager making a return on ad spend of 1.2 or 1.3, meaning for every $100 that I was putting on Facebook, I got back 120 or 130 bucks. The problem is I have a lot of backend expenses, such as shipping the product, refunds, VAs, and things of that nature. At the end of the month, when I was doing my accounting, I was actually in the negative. I was losing money, but that was not so easy to see at first, because on Facebook, I would see, okay, I just spent $100 and I made 140 back. And so I was actually bleeding in that period, and it took me a little while to realize that. So this continued for a few months, and now we are in June 2019, where I graduate high school. So at this point, my stores are making some money. I've had some month where I went up to $11,000 in revenue, which in my head is like, wow, I'm rich, right? I'm the big shot in a single month, by the way. The problem is I was actually, at the end of the day, I'm probably negative $740. It's a lot of revenue, it's flashy, I can brag about it, but I'm actually losing money. And so it's the end of high school. I have a little business going on, but I'm not making real money. At this point, I know that I don't want to go to university. I want to take business seriously and do this full time. So it's also quite a big decision because I'm going all in on this. And my business is still bleeding. Now, during the summer of 2019, so the month after that, I was very lucky because I came very, 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 very close to being completely bankrupt, having to close my business, and I could not make the next Shopify bill, right? Because Shopify is like $30 a month, and I got that close to not even being able to pay that. So I would have to shut down the store and completely stop. This is something that I've never said in the past, but I'm internally grateful for my family because they hit me with a lucky star, whereas for graduating high school, they actually gave me a good amount of money kind of like to celebrate. And yeah, without that money, it's crazy to think, but I would have gone to uni, maybe get a 9-to-5 and whatsoever. But thanks to the lucky star and my family helping, I was able to continue in the trajectory that I wanted to go down. So that was summer of 2019. And at this point, I do realize that I'm burning money and I need to fix something. What I knew for a fact is that I was good at growing Instagram pages, right? Like that is a core skill that I was competent and capable at. Because when I was growing those Instagram pages, I had competitors that would slide in my DMs and say, hey, how do you grow your Instagram pages? Can you do the same thing for me? For the longest time, I said no, and I was just focusing on my dropshipping business. But eventually, you know, those people offered, I'll pay you $300 a month just to do what I was doing on my page, which is basically take some other post, download them, and post it on my page. Very simple strategy, but it was working. And so the point that I'm making here is that eventually switched to doing more and more of these gigs, whereas people would pay me a monthly retainer to do a service. In this case, growing Instagram pages. That is one of the pivotal moments where I switched from dropshipping to SMMA, social media marketing agency. The business models are very different because in dropshipping, you're selling a product, and with SMMA, you're providing a service. Now, the core lesson here is that with SMMA, when you're providing a service, you need to be skillful and you sell your skill. My example, once again, was growing Instagram pages, for which people would pay me $300 a month. Now, the beauty is that I can have 10 clients. I can have 10 clients for which I provide this service, and suddenly I have 10 people paying me $300 a month, which is $3,000 a month. And when you're 18, $3,000 a month is a lot of money. So I started to do more and more of that, transitioning towards SMMA. You know, I started this with a business partner, which was actually my best friend. This is like a side lesson, but I would not recommend to do business with your friends just because it creates a weird dynamic. So just quick side notes, as a rule of thumb, generally speaking, don't do business with friends and family. So I'm shifting towards SMMA, and for the first time ever, I'm actually making money because the $3,000 or the $300 that the clients are paying me, I'm actually keeping them, right? I'm exchanging my time, my service for that money. But so it's $300 net that I put in my pocket. Whereas if I had $300 in revenue with dropshipping, I had to pay for the shipping, I had to pay for the product, refunds, and things of that nature. So out of the 300, I would maybe only keep 10% of that. Whereas with SMMA, I would keep 100%. So that was beautiful, right? For the first time ever, I was making cold hard cash, going to the bank, and I was actually positive on the money that I made. And so now if you start to look at the graph, it's still not very impressive, but if you look at the profit against revenue, you can see that I'm slowly starting to build momentum and putting money in my pocket, right? At this point, this is where I become financially free. I make, above, I think, $1,500 a month, which is minimum wage in France, meaning that I'm making a living for myself. And that is about 6 months after quitting high school. During this time, this is another tangent, but I get on TikTok. And so Gary Vee, which is a huge inspiration of mine, was bragging about TikTok. It's like, get on TikTok, it's the next YouTube, it's the next Instagram. I start TikTok in late 2019, and quite quickly, I start making 3 videos a day. Luckily enough, 3 months after I start my TikTok journey, COVID happens, and I was living in France France gets locked down. So I'm making 3 videos a day. Suddenly a lot of people are spending a lot more time on social media, and this is where I really start to blow up and get my first 100,000 followers, so on and so forth. But I'm making those 3 videos a day on TikTok without making any money, while simultaneously I'm running my agency, and my agency is kind of making a living for myself. So I'm just providing value on TikTok and just trying to make engaging videos and build an audience. And I think that's very important, that at first I'm giving more than I'm asking or taking from the audience. I'm just providing a ton of value. So things are going well. I don't really have a team, or I think I had one person on my team at this point, so one employee. And I decided to get my first apartment in Toulouse, which is a small city in the south of France. And I kind of locked myself in because we had a second lockdown in France, and this is when I moved to my apartment. Now, looking back, I think it was important that I spent almost a year in this apartment to grind and just focus. But I do think that, and especially if you look at the graph, you'll see that I'm rather stagnant across this 1 year. So I'm making money. I'm definitely successful by many metrics, but I'm stagnating. Like the revenue is not peaking yet. And the reason for that is that I'm missing some core business fundamentals, right? Because I'm pretty much self-taught, but I haven't invested much money into educating myself at this point, which kind of leads me to lesson number 2, is that when you start to make money, don't go and invest in crypto or real estate or stocks from the get-go. You're going to be much better off in the early days to reinvest in yourself, meaning invest in courses, invest in mentors, invest in better team members to kind of keep yourself growing, right? You know, let's just say hypothetically that you're trying to add an additional $10,000 a month. You have a business that's making $10,000 a month and you don't know what to do with your money. Well, the example here is that you're going to be much better off reinvesting into your own business and go from $10,000 to $20,000 a month rather than going from 0 to 10K, because that initial step takes a lot more time, and revenue, as you see on the graph, is very exponential, right? So at the beginning, you're putting a lot of work, you're yielding very low results, but it's going to grow over time. So that means you have to put a lot of time, a lot of energy to go from 0 to 10, whereas with the main business, you might already be, you know, further down the line, right? So your revenue and your output is going to be significantly higher. So lesson number 1 is that I understand I need to get good at one thing and sell that as a service, because it's a lot more lucrative. And if you have skills, you know, these are skills that stay with you. For example, if you become a good salesman, it doesn't matter what industry or, you know, which generation you live in, being a good salesman and being able to sell is always going to be valuable, and you're always going to be able to make money. So now we are in late 2021, where I have a team, we have clients, but it's very unstable. Sometimes we have too many clients and we can't deliver. Sometimes we don't have enough clients and we have too much staff, and it's all over the place, and I'm stagnating. Like, it's going up, down, and I mean, it's going up and down within a small range, and I'm not able to scale sustainably. At that point, there's also, so COVID is pretty much over at the end of 2021, and there's a huge wave of online entrepreneurs that all moved to Dubai. So I have fear of missing out, and I'm like, okay, there's nothing keeping me in this city, in Toulouse. I was grinding, I was focused, but I didn't have much fun. So I moved to Dubai, and suddenly I find myself in an environment where everybody is running their own business. Everybody is tremendously more successful than I am, and you know, I walk in a room and I'm the poorest person that I know. And that is a great feeling, because it naturally kind of lifts you up, or you realize that there are levels to this game. And it naturally gives you a source of energy to grind more and to go to the next step. To this day, I think moving here has been one of the best decisions that I've taken. And as a consequence of this, you know, my business was growing. Now I was quite big on TikTok, and you know, I started to make a decent amount of money, but you still see that I have ups and downs, right? There are moments where I made a lot of money, then it goes down, and then it goes back up, and I'm still hardly sustaining my growth. And it's really when I started to realize that I need to stop investing in crypto and stop investing in all this fad where everybody's saying, oh, I just made crazy money instantly. You really just need to focus on what you're doing and double down on that. So I invested into very expensive mentorships and very expensive programs that helped me to restructure my business fundamentals. The base of what I'm building is super strong and stable. And suddenly, once you have a strong base, everything that you build on top of it doesn't just shatter like it would in the past. Because in the past, I would get clients, but then I couldn't sustain it, so I would be back to square one, so on and so forth. This is quite close to the present. It was only about 6 months ago that I really made the switch, and suddenly, as you can see in the graph, everything just exploded. I'm still making mistakes, it's natural, but the growth curve is really starting to accelerate just because I'm putting the resources back in my business, back into myself, and back in the people that I work with. Lesson number one is that you need to become a master of one thing, and that can be video editing, it can be copywriting, it can be sales, it can be pretty much any skill out there. But remember that skills pay the bills. Once you have a skill, usually you want something that is in demand. You know, like writing newspaper, for example, is probably not as hot of a skill of like mastering AI, right? Like there's just demand with the market. So it's important that you have a lot of self-awareness, understand the things that you're good at, find a skill, become good at that skill, and you will get paid for that pretty much for the rest of your life. And the second thing is that hopefully with this you are able to make a little bit of money, then you can start freelancing, you can start getting hired. But once you do make that money, just reinvest in yourself. Don't fall for gimmicky, trendy sort of get rich quick schemes. Just make sure that you reinvest into what's already working for you. Invest in your mind, invest in the people that you work with, invest in getting trained, and that will yield to so much more than any other ventures. I hope this was helpful. This is very much a breakdown of my journey and my philosophy as to how I got here. I will just end this by saying that I'm not particularly special or smart or gifted. I think I'm just disciplined. I stick to what I say, and I understand that everything is built upon momentum. I allow myself to just do the hard work and close my eyes even if the results are not overnight, because I know that efforts compound, and eventually with compounding and building momentum, you'll get something out of it. And the second thing that I would say is that I just was able to find a place which played on my strength. And so that just comes down to self-awareness. Self-awareness is not something that you're born with. You can just Google it and work on that. It's like 16personalities.com is a great exercise. And I would just spend a lot of time thinking as to what do I want my life to look like? What do I actually value? And then suddenly you'll find clear sort of patterns as to, okay, I want to do this kind of job, or I want to live this kind of life. And slowly, eventually, you'll figure out the type of life that you want to live. And I'm not saying you need to know that exactly from day one. You kind of just figure it out along the way. Just like for me, if you ask me, where am I going to be 5 years from now? I have no idea. But I just know that, there are certain traits that I want to have in my life. Not to tell you my life story, but pretty much I want to be financially free. I don't really care about how much money it is. I just do not want to worry about money. I want to have time. I want to be the boss of my freedom. So if I decide to go on a holiday, if I decide to not work, or if I decide to do whatever I want to be the master of my thoughts. So these are my core principles. The business that I'm doing is very much a vehicle to the life that I want to have. So I would say self-awareness, learn your strength, become good at a skill that will stick with you for the rest of your life, and invest in yourself. These are the 3 lessons that I take out of this whole journey. I hope this helps, and if you want me to dive into any particular topics, I think there's a lot more that I can talk about. I would love to do so in a future video. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.